Hey, everybody, and happy Easter tide to you, and welcome back to a 4-minute segment we call Faith Press. Like the French press, we need to sit in the presence of God in order to soak in who God is in our lives. And so that's what this segment is all about. So welcome if you're just joining. And I'll also just say, for so many of you who have been encouraged and have encouraged me through this segment and shared it with friends, it's been really cool to see just how this thing has been encouraging to so many people. And so as we move forward into this Eastertide season, we are going to, as a church at St. Peter's Church, we are going to move into a series on First Peter. The name of our church is named after the apostle disciple Peter. The book of 1st and 2nd Peter are books attributed to his writing and his faith, sent in letters to the church scattered around the Roman Empire. But before we talk about 1st Peter, I want to spend a few weeks at church on Sundays for the next few weeks talking about Peter first. So we're going to talk about this disciple. We're going to look at his call, we're going to look at his commission, and we're also going to look at his calamity, because there are things about every life of a disciple, you, me, and even Peter, that are calamitous. There are also ways in which God empowers us to live faithfully as disciples, despite the calamities and ups and downs that we face in our lives. So we need to study first the life of Peter for 3 weeks before we get into the book of 1st Peter. So this week, I want to challenge you to read Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11. Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11. We're going to talk about the call of Peter next Sunday at St. Peter's. And I want you to notice that when Jesus comes to Peter on his terms on the lake fishing, which is what Peter would have been an expert in, think about whatever it is you're an expert in, God often comes to us on our terms. So if you're in the medical field, God shows up somewhere at the hospital or in the doctor's office. If you are a mom or a dad, it's amazing how God shows up through our kids. If you are in high school, it's incredible the way God shows up in students that we interact with, et cetera, et cetera. God often shows up on our terms. I want you to ask this question while you're reading Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11 sometime this week. Why was it that Peter would actually, in the midst of his vocation as a fisherman, what was it about Jesus that made him drop his nets and follow him? Like, what was it? I mean, I think sometimes we have a tendency to over-spiritualize these things, but like when you think about it, Peter lays down his competency, lays down what he's known, lays down this vocation that was putting bread on the table. What was it that made Peter say, I'm going to stop doing what I've always been doing, and I'm going to start doing that instead? That's a really significant question as we begin to analyze the life of Peter, because it has a lot of implications for our own lives as well. And I'll be talking about that on Sunday at St. Peter's Church. I hope you can join us. It's amazing to see people coming back to worship as this vaccine gets rolled out and people are just craving being in worship and being around people again. And so I just want to encourage you wherever you are. I pray that God's Spirit is with you, that this Easter tide is one in which resurrection isn't just a claim that we make on Easter Sunday, but we begin to experience the presence of the resurrected God in and throughout our day. So this week, feast on Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11, and ask the Holy Spirit, what do you want to show me in this? And how can I show up in worship on Sunday in a way that's prepared to hear from your word, Lord? And so I pray that you are well, and I will talk to you soon. Grace and peace.